Thank you, everybody, so much for being here. We are delighted to have so many community members and friends here for this historic day. I am delighted to announce today that in a historic deal, the city of Denver has acquired the Park Hill Golf Course for use as a public park. This will be the largest acquisition of a new park to our park system in more than 100 years. Moreover, we are very excited about the process for our community to be able to have input and say into how we turn this space into public space that can be used for a public park. Our Parks and Rec team will oversee this site. We are really grateful for all the community members who have been involved in this process to date. This course has an incredible and long history, which you'll hear about some today, but it is because of the community members who raised their voice over and over to say we want this space to be open to all of us, to be useful to all of us, and to be home for all of us, that we are here today to make this announcement. And so a couple things I want to share about how we got here and what this means. This will be 155 acres that we'll acquire for public park space. Thank you all for the folks that worked to get us here. This will be the largest acquisition of private property for park space in the city's history. Never before have we acquired this much private land to be able to convert into public space, which is part of our long-term vision to make sure every community has access to public parks that they can either walk to, roll to, or ride to. We have accomplished this through a land transfer where we have taken the previous ownership group here and we have taken 145 acres of land that we own adjacent to the airport in Adams County that we will trade for this site here. We have worked in partnership with the leadership in Adams County who is aware of that involved, thanks to our partners at the Den Airport who've helped to make that transaction possible. We think this sets us up for great success in this community for a long time to come. I want to say a couple things before I introduce some of our amazing partners here to talk about their leadership and their role. We are really grateful to all the community members who have been involved in making this day possible. Some of them you'll hear from today. Obviously, our folks in the SOS Coalition who have raised their voices to help make this possible. We also want to thank all of the community members who went to work on a community benefits agreement and on an area plan to envision what they thought this space could be and the surrounding area could be. I will say, while we are very excited today to dedicate all 155 acres of this space to be a park, we also know that on both sides of this debate there was agreement that we still need to make sure that this neighborhood remains affordable. We still need to make sure that this neighborhood does not continue to be a food desert without access to regular and affordable food and groceries. And so thank you. Thank you all for your work on that. And so while we will work with our parks team, and Joel will talk about a public process by which neighbors and community members can provide input on what they want the services and opportunities to be on the park space, we will continue our effort to ensure that there is affordable housing in and around this park and that there is access to affordable food in and around this park. Those remain top priorities for us. I want to be mindful of the fact that we are delighted about the addition of a park, and we also can't be blind to the fact that historically, the fastest way to gentrify a neighborhood is to add a park, which means we have to know in advance that when we add park space, that is wonderful, and we have to make sure that all of the land that surrounds this park continues to be available, affordable, and accessible to the folks that have lived in this community historically and continue to make their home here. We think there is a way to do both and that's why today's commitment is really, we think, a coming together of both sides of a community conversation about a shared interest in both park space, affordability, and food access, and there's a way to do all of those in collaboration. I do want to thank a couple of folks that are here that are not on the dais with us today, but obviously I think Kevin Marchman is here somewhere, who worked on the community benefits agreement. Thank you, Kevin, for your work on bringing neighbors together to talk about what resources they might have wanted from this space. I want to thank Urban Land Conservancy, Aaron Mirapol and their team, who's done so much good work on the northern side of the park focused on affordability. We think that continues to be a key partnership for us going forward. But all in all, I think this is a historic success for this neighborhood, for the community at large, and for the advocates who had a dream about what this space could be, that we're excited to start the next step on that process today. So I would love to introduce our first of a distinguished group of speakers, our amazing city councilwoman from this district who has been engaged and a part of this work for a long time, and to talk a little bit about the historical significance of this space and about what we dream for it to be in the road ahead. Please welcome to the stage Councilwoman Chantel Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being here today. My name is Chantel M. Lewis, and I'm the City Councilwoman for District 8, which includes Northeast Park Hill, and so welcome to my district. It is a privilege to stand before you all as we announce the city's acquisition of the Park Hill Golf Course, which will transform into a vibrant new park in our Park Hill community and beyond. This is not just another park. It's a space that will bring together diverse neighbors together and breathe new life into an area that has been neglected for far too long. It is a symbol of hope, of equity, a commitment to climate, and of our shared future. Many of our neighbors have lacked access to the green spaces that other parts of the city take for granted. Parks are not just recreational areas. They are community hubs, places where we gather, places where we connect, and places where we find peace. Community hubs that hold events such as Vibes in the Park, City Park Jazz, and the Black Arts Festival. In a district that has been historically underserved and under-resourced, this park will be a place of unity, a space where children, families, seniors, and neighbors of all backgrounds can come together to enjoy nature, participate in events, and build relationships across cultural divides. It is this kind of connection that our office has committed in our vision to nurture socially cohesive communities to make sure that everyone, no matter where they live, has the opportunity to thrive and engage with their neighbors. Thank you. Thank you. But this park is not only about community. It is also an opportunity to confront the climate crisis. As we continue to face rising temperatures and environmental changes, parks serve as a crucial green infrastructure. This park will be an oasis of greenery, providing shade, reducing the urban heat island effect, and improving air quality. It will serve as a living testament to our commitment to sustainability and resilience in the face of climate change. Of course, as we work to improve our city, we must also be vigilant about the impacts of gentrification. Our Park Hill neighborhood has been home to hardworking, longtime residents who have helped shape this community. We must be intentional about how we develop this space and ensure that this park, while a beacon of progress, does not contribute to the displacement of those who have called this place home for generations. The transformation of this land should lift up existing residents, not push them out. This park represents a future where our community is stronger, healthier, and more connected, where we protect the environment and each other, and where no one is left behind. This is a new chapter for our district, and while it is a privilege to be here to announce it, it is my duty to ensure the process stays aligned with the needs of this neighborhood and provides our current Park Hill community with all the benefits that they deserve for years to come. Thank you. That's what I said.
Well done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Councilwoman. So delighted for your partnership and support. I have the honor of introducing next a man who needs no introduction, my predecessor, the actual mayor, Mayor Wellington Webb. I do want to say, you can give him a round of applause before I let him take the microphone. This is an incredible full circle moment. As some of you may know the history, it was under Mayor Webb's administration that he first put the easement on this golf course to be able to make sure that it was kept for public use a long time. No one has been a better advocate to make sure it eventually turned into a public park than you have. So grateful for your work and partnership and excited to give you the stage, sir.
Mayor Johnston, thank you very much. I appreciative of your work. I'd be remiss if I didn't give a little history. Not a lot of history, a little history. A long time ago, when we put the conservation easement on, I never knew how much controversy it would have later in life. Matter of fact, I was minding my own business watching football games till my grandson said I was mentioned on Facebook. I want to congratulate my grandson Alan Webb, who is part of our crew. And our goal was, what do we need to do to save the park? We all support affordable housing, but I never believed, after what I saw happen at the former location of the East Denver Y, that you could build affordable housing here, because what was being proposed was affordable housing without talking about the additional fees that would have to be made because of a metro district that would have to be that would have to come up and be implemented. Because this park has no alley, it has no sidewalks, it has no streets. All of those fees would be put on top of the sale prices of the affordable homes that were so-called going to be built, which then puts them as not affordable.
Yep, right.
So that was a sham. Now let me say, I like Andy Klein, believe it or not. If you want to have a beer, he's a good guy to go have a drink with and a beer with, and he's a businessman. So I have no ill will against Andy. But I do have real concerns about those that have tried to misappropriate the history of Park Hill. I have issues with those that have historically been either inefficient, not historically accurate, in terms of not sharing with people that African Americans have been playing golf here for years.
Amen.
Bill Roberts, Ed Garner, Tyrone Holt, Lucius Ashby, to only name a few. Secondly, my other issue of concern was that when Woody Garnsey and Harry Dobie and Penn and I sat down and talked, one of the things I said earlier is that we got to get people involved if they want to save the park. This is the last 155 acres of space that we have in Denver. And it has to be maintained, and it has to be under city control. And that we also, you know, some people laugh because I went to Manual, and I said, well, I went to Manual, but I know one thing. You pay $24 million for a piece of property that was appraised at $9 million, there's something wrong with that deal. There's got to be something wrong with that deal. So we moved forward and said that we need to take it to the community and let there become a broader discussion, because this is just not about Park Hill. This is about the city as a whole. The real winners today are the people of Denver. The real winners today are the people of Denver. I want to congratulate Wilma in terms of coming up with great signs, along with Sheila McDonald and others, that said grass over concrete. And also Wilma's statement that she gave Penfield tape and told Penfield not to use it. And he used it anyway. SOS has two meanings: save our souls or same old shit, depending on which one you want to use. But it was always our belief that if we made our case to the public, if we made our case to the people, they could see through the historical greed that some people were after. And the people responded 3 consecutive times. The opposition lost 60-40. Then they had a good night. They lost 59-41, which is about as consistent as the Washington Generals playing the Harlem Globetrotters. So, for me, where do we go from here? The conservation easement's in place. Under the provisions of the conservation easement, we can have recreational programs, park space, and other items here on this land. And that needs to be reviewed with just not the rich black people that got involved, but with everybody in the process. We've got great people also on the other side. Kevin Marchman's expert in housing, has been for years. That's part of his expertise. He needs to be included. I had no problem with Kevin. John and I grew up together. Of course, he'll say he's older than me, which I am. And sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree, but we're old school guys. On some things we'll disagree, on other things we'll agree. But we got to bring the community back together, all of us, with one consistent message. Now, I applaud Mayor Johnston because when he was a candidate, he supported the development. Matter of fact, 5 members of City Council supported the development, including our new Parks and Rec director supported the development. But for them to come back today and say, I'm going to abide by the will of the voters, is a big deal. That's a big deal. Lastly, I also want to thank Robin Kanish for the great work she did for the opposition, calling me and Penfield Tate old, and that we need to stay on the bench, and that there's new black leadership that doesn't include us. Thank you, Robin. You energized me more to the fact I even thought I could dunk again. People in SOS, many of them, they stood their ground, and because they're white, they're not racist. One of the most disappointing aspects of this last campaign were many people in Park Hill, because they happen to be white and have been fighting for civil rights and human rights their entire lifetime, other folks coming there calling them racist because they wanted to keep this apart. That's wrong. Someone said earlier it's about not winning, it's about what's right. It is about what's right. And it's nice when you can have what's right and win at the same time, which is what we did. So this victory today is a victory for the people. I'm proud to have been a part of it. I'm proud to be part of the next process in which we determine the long-term use of what would go on this 155 acres. And it's my hope, Mayor Johnston, that we can all come together and come with something that is beneficial, that everyone can be proud of, that everyone in the city can be proud of, whether they were on this side or that side. Denver's too small to have this kind of division. But we are strong enough to know that we've got a lot of problems ahead. Being mayor is a tough job. Mayor Johnston's here today, and he's also got to deal with the issues dealing with 16th Street to make sure that people know that it's safe and that they can walk down there, and that people walking down the street are not arbitrarily going to be stabbed, not even from Denver, visitors from somewhere else. So in closing, and you also know I'm Baptist, just thought I'd share that. Baptists talk longer than most people. We need a process once this land returns back to its original site under the conservation easement, which has become so popular now. The conservation easements are even talked about and on TV programs like Yellowstone, of how conservation easements can protect the land. And that's what this is about. To me, parks is real important. I was born in Chicago. The parks we had to walk to them. Bowman, and you know where I'm talking about, going to Jackson Park and other places. Because that little grass we had in the front was not enough. And so we don't want Denver to become Chicago or New York or Kansas City, and I'm worried about it. And later I'm going to talk to Mayor Johnston about a rescue plan for Denver. But what we need to do today is to celebrate that we maintain the Park Hill Golf Course in Denver, for Denver. Let me repeat that. For Denver, not new people that moved here from Aurora trying to take advantage of Denver. For Denver, and that we maintained it for the people and residents of Denver to provide for all of the activities that we can do under the conservation easement. And to those on City Council, there's nothing more important than maintaining that conservation easement. I want to thank Mayor Johnston one more time for letting our lawyers look at and review the agreement so that we could stand up here today and say that we're in support with what the landmark legislation that what Mayor Johnston has achieved in getting this land back. He followed through on his word, which is very important. And now it's up to City Council to make sure that it gets back in place in one place in one piece. And we're going to be watching that. If not, we'll sue for a fourth time. Just thought I'd throw that in. We won the last three, we would expect to win the fourth one as well. So Penfield's a nice guy, I'm not always nice. Anybody I've missed that talked about us real bad? Okay, all right. Victory to the people who won this election from all across the city. This is just not a Denver, Northeast Denver park. This is a Denver park located in Northeast Denver.
In case anybody wondered if Mayor Webb had lost his competitive spirit, it turns out he still remembers. Note to us, Chantel, apparently after you're out of office, you can swear at a press conference. So we have that to look forward to in retirement. Thank you so much, Mayor Webb, for your incredible service, your vision, and your coalition building here. I do want to invite up a couple of other allies who've done great work on this project and helped deliver this final outcome to share a little bit of their journey. I'd love to invite to the stage Penfield Tate, former state senator from our district, longtime community member and activist, been proud to follow in his footsteps many times over.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. Over the past 8 years, I never thought this day would come. Folk, our country was founded on a number of principles. One of them was the idea of collective action, community, coming together and doing stuff that benefits the common good and everybody, not just being self-absorbed and doing stuff that only matters for you. Today is a celebration of what collective action can do, because many of us here have been in this fight together for a long time. Woody was reminding me it's been 8 years. I didn't want to think it'd been that long, but it had been that long. The last time we were here, many of us, to hold a press conference, you may recall, we were on a tiny sliver of land on the far north end. I think Brother Jeff was here, Kara DeGette was here, maybe 1 or 2 TV stations were covering it, and we were serving notice that we were going to fight on behalf of the community and our neighbors to make sure this land was preserved for the community and our neighbors. I have 40 years invested in Park Hill. This is where I've spent my adult life, where I raised my daughter, where I've served you in the legislature, and when I've served you in a number of community organizations. Many of you grabbed me in aisle 13 at Safeway and said, Penfield, don't let them do that. You called me on the phone, you texted, you emailed, and you stopped me in the middle of the street saying, y'all got to stop them. And we did. We were fighting shoulder to shoulder. We were working collectively. We were working together for the common good. And it was sometimes disappointing because we fought and beat the moneyed interest of this city time after time after time. But what was disappointing is we also had to fight, in many instances, some of the political interest in this city that should have been listening to us rather than dictating to us. We knew what we wanted, we knew what we needed, and we told the powers that be, and they kept saying no. They kept forcing us to go to votes, and we all stood together 3 times. The mayor gave you the numbers. This wasn't even close. So if there was any question about what the community wanted, we all collectively made it clear, and now we're here. Now it's time to celebrate. I want to start by celebrating all of you and all of the commitment that we've shown over the years. I want to thank Mayor Webb for his foresight, for his commitment, and his understanding that we got one planet and we don't get a do-over. And if we screw it up by paving it over, we've destroyed our own home and will never recover it again. Preserving this land is the start of that. We know the city needs a lot of things like affordable housing and others, but our position has always been build around, not on, because we can't replicate this site anywhere else in the city. Once it's gone, and we will never get it back. Many of us in our neighborhoods have gone to a bunch of meetings, and we've never seen city council presented with a choice. We want to tear down a bunch of buildings and build a park. That bill has never been run. So preserving this land was crucial. The last thanks I want to give is to Mayor Johnston. And I want to thank him for something that should be obvious, but isn't always. When he ran and 4-0 and 2-0 failed, he looked us in the eye and said, the people have spoken again by a 2-1 margin. If I become mayor, this is going to be a park. We're going to get it for the community. We're going to engage the community, and this is going to be a park. He could have easily gone back on that and gone in another direction, because we've seen other elected officials do that. He did not. He stood with us. He stayed with us. He shared information with us, and now we're here. So thank you, Mayor. The last thing I want to mention is I want to continue this call to action. You know, Woody and I have been talking about, okay, now we got to plan a party. We'll do that. We'll have some fun and celebrate. But let me just say, after the party, it's time for all of us to get back to work again. Because we have to engage with the city and talk about how we activate this site, how it reflects the will, the wishes, the needs of the community as a recreational amenity and open space. Many of you during the campaigns gave us input. It's reflected on the SOS website. We've shared that with the city, but we have always said this is not definitive. You got to go back to people and keep asking them what they want, because you work for us, and we will tell you what we want in our communities. Thank you so much. Let's celebrate. Let's have some fun. But let's remember the work's not done. We have more to do.
Thank you so much, Penfield, for your leadership and your courage and tenacity. I am delighted to invite to the stage also a good longtime friend who has been a real advocate and activist for this purpose of this park and for this neighborhood, my friend Woody Garnsey. Woody, come on up.
Well, it's fabulous to be here today. I'm the only one up on this little group who's not a politician. I'm just a plain old Denver citizen who was born here 150 years ago and who's been living in Park Hill for over 50 years. We came back to my home. I'm thrilled to be here on this truly historic day. Of course, it's important to know the history of this land, and I just want to summarize a few things that some of you may not know, but obviously the first human occupants of this land we're standing on were Native Americans who roamed the land until outsiders arrived in 1857 and established the city of Denver in 1858 at the confluence of the Platte River and Cherry Creek. One of the first settlers in that group was a 26-year-old man named George W. Clayton, who arrived in 1859 and who over time became one of Denver's first real estate barons, amassing vast real estate holdings throughout the city, including the land you're standing on, the Park Hill Golf Course land. When he died in 1899, without any heirs, the land went to a trust. And the trustee, the first trustee of the trust, and the trustee until 1984 was the city of Denver. A lot of people don't know that. The government has had involvement for a long time. In 1930, the trust established this golf course, which was a privately owned, publicly accessible golf course. It operated until 2019 when it closed due to the installation of the stormwater drainage project in the northeast corner of the park. And then in 1997, an event took place that allows us to be here today, and only because of this event we would be here today. And that's what you heard about, was that under the leadership of Mayor Wellington Webb, the city had the brilliant foresight to pay the Clayton Trust $2 million to purchase a perpetual conservation easement on the land for open space and recreational uses. Without this bold action by the city under Mayor Webb's leadership, the land would now be the site of a massive real estate development. And today, after an intense and complicated 8-year effort by many tireless and passionate Denver citizens to preserve the conservation easement and prevent real estate development on the land, the city of Denver is poised to acquire the land for permanent park and open space purposes under the leadership of our new mayor, Mike Johnston. This 8-year citizen effort was led by our large grassroots citizens group that we called Save Open Space Denver, or SOS Denver, which most importantly won 3 citywide elections by a 2-to-1 margin. In 2021, during COVID, we successfully initiated Ordinance 301, which mandated a future citywide vote before the conservation easement could be broken or before there could be real estate development on the land. And then in 2023, we defeated referred Ordinance 2.0, which would have opened the door to a massive development on the land. We also filed 2 lawsuits that fortunately never had to be fully litigated. We're now poised to begin an exciting new chapter in the history of this unique 155 acres of open space. There are 3 critical initial steps that now need to be taken. First critical step is City Council needs to pass an ordinance approving the agreement, the swap agreement negotiated by Mayor Johnston with the current owner, Westside Investment Properties. The second critical step is for City Council to cement preservation of the land for open space and recreational purposes by passing an ordinance officially designating the land as a park in accordance with Section 2.4.5 of the Denver Charter. After this designation, this new park will join the long list of other Denver parks that cannot be sold or leased without approval of all of the Denver city voters in a majority vote. The third critical step is for citizens to get actively involved in the community-wide planning effort to be led by Jolan Clark and his Denver Parks and Recreation team to brainstorm about what will happen next on this land. In conclusion, I just want to give a special shout out to a few people without whose energy and creativity and perseverance and hard work we wouldn't be here today. First, of course, is Mayor Webb, and we've talked about what his role has been. He not only made it possible for us to be here by having the city buy the conservation easement, but he took the lead in our effort to preserve the easement. And I'll never forget the meeting where we sat around a table and talked about the idea during COVID of running an initiated ordinance which required getting numerous signatures on petitions and then going to the voters. And we walked out of that and looked at ourselves after we told them, yeah, we'll do that. And we said, what the hell did we just decide to do? It was pretty crazy. Next, of course, we got to call out Mayor Johnston. I mean, as Penfield said, and others have said, he followed through, having not supported us in the first round in 2023. The next day he came to us and said, I see what the voters want. It's happened a second time, or actually a third time, because it was the third real vote. And he said, now I'm going to follow the will of the voters, and I'll make this happen. So he deserves a huge shout out, as does DPR Executive Director Jolan Clark, who's been very involved in the process. And Mayor Johnston's Chief Strategy Officer, who a lot of you probably don't know, but Jeff Dolan has worked behind the scenes tirelessly to make this happen, negotiating the agreement with Westside. And I also want to call out the leadership group of Save Open Space Denver, which over time has included Penfield, Colette Carey, Harry Doby, Brenda Morrison, Sheila McDonald, and most recently with help from Ford Frick and Basil Sabah. And here today, some other huge supporters. Ed Schalke is here. He's a retired landscape architect who retired from the city of Aurora Parks and Rec Department and helped work with us on some conceptual ideas about what could happen on this land if it's acquired by the city and turned into a park. He did a beautiful job. It's up on our website. Hopefully it'll be a starting point for discussion going forward. Also, Ed Ramey was the pro bono attorney who led our effort and was our litigation counsel on the 2 lawsuits that we filed, which fortunately never had to be fully litigated. Former city attorney Patty Wells was part of that litigation team as well. And behind the scenes, our counselor and advisor and supporter Jim Kelly, who's also here. And finally, you know, I look around this crowd and I say, this is all a huge group effort. And there are a huge number of supporters throughout the city who's supported us going on 8 years. And without their energy and expertise and financial resources, we never could have been here today. Collectively, we've shown that energized citizens can make a difference affecting public policy. So thanks for being here. Thanks to everyone who's been involved. And here's to the exciting future of Denver's new 155-acre park for generations to come.
Thank you so much, Woody, for your incredible contribution. Our last spokesperson today, I want to bring up our head of Parks and Rec, who will oversee the future vision and community process for this site, friend and great ally, Julian Clark.
I want everybody to take a quick second, and I want you to close your eyes. When you take a deep breath in. Welcome to what will be Denver's newest park. There are moments in a city's history that stand out. There are moments that echo and change the lives and the fabric of a community for generations and generations to come. You heard earlier, this is the largest acquisition of private property to become public, to become a park forever for the residents of Denver in this city's history. This is the largest new park added to Denver, and this is not a city that is afraid of parks. We're known across the world as the city that is in a park. And this is the largest addition to the Parks and Recreation system since 1911, since the full addition of Washington Park. This is a big day. Who is excited to be here? Not as excited as I am, but you're getting close. Someday, somebody is going to stand in this park and they're going to get married, like I did at Cheeseman Park. Or they're going to celebrate their parents' 50th wedding anniversary like I did in Washington Park. That is what is happening here today, is this great space that will be that place for community to come together, for people to break bread and possibly have a party under a tree that they've already picked out, to celebrate, to commiserate, to mourn the loss of a loved one like I did, someone who, a family that grew up on my block, and we went to the park to mourn, to come together. That is what this space will be for Denver residents. One more time, forever. Forever. That's what's happening today. This is a big deal. And I just have to give a couple of thank yous. 2018 Denver voters showed up and voted for the Park Legacy Fund. Without that funding, taking on an asset like this, managing an asset like this wouldn't have been possible. So thank you to Denver voters. I saw Jim Peterson from TPL is in the house. Couldn't have done that without you guys to get us there. That's what Denver voters said. We especially see as our city is growing and our city is getting denser, we have to be ready. We have to be ready to jump at the opportunities. You heard Mayor Webb say this might be the last 155 acres that we can grab like this, and it gets to be a park forever. So thank you to Denver voters. I'm going to give another shout out to a few people. There are so many people who worked hard on this, but Jeff Dolan, Nicole Doheny, would not have happened. Lisa Lumley, I think they're there, would not have happened without you. Give it up for these. They worked so hard on this. Would not have happened. And the biggest thank you, when I first got this job, this was the number one thing anybody wanted to talk to me about, because our new mayor had promised that he was going to go and get this and turn it into a park. And people love to come up to me and say, hey, congratulations, you're doing Parks and Rec. That is impossible. That's never going to happen. I lost track of the number of people who told me that. And this mayor, Mayor Johnston, never once. And it was hard, it was up and down, it was a windy road that these folks I just called out were working on to get us today to announce this. It was not easy. And there were a lot of hurdles and a lot of bleak days when it looked like maybe it wouldn't happen. And Mayor Johnston never once, I never sat in a meeting where he doubted it for a second. He said, it's what I said I was going to do. It's what the people have spoken and wanted, and we are going to get it done. So What's the hurdle? How do we get through it? How do we get here? You've heard of all the people who set the table for years, for decades, to be in a position to do this, and Denver voters approving in 2018. But this would not have happened if it weren't for my boss, Mayor Mike Johnston. What you've done for parks, for our Park City, may never be outdone. So thank you. Let's give it up for Mayor Mike Johnston. Real quick before I give the microphone back to him, I'm just thanking you so far, but I'm just gonna real quick talk about the questions that I get the most. So what happens next, right? What happens next? Okay, so we're out here, we're looking around. Our commitment, and let's see, well, raise your hand if you're here from the Denver Parks and Recreation crew, from our operations team, from our forestry team. These are all the amazing people who are gonna make this happen. We're going to take care of this place. We're going to deliver what this community wants. We're going to listen to the community. We're going to see what amenities, what do you want in this place, and then we're going to build it with our planning team. We're going to maintain it. We're going to take care of it. We've already been watering the trees to make sure that we don't lose any more trees and taking care of them. We'll continue to do that and make sure that we don't lose a single tree that we don't have to. We are within a month of closing. We are going to open the gates of this. And for the first time ever, you'll be able to walk in this park as a Denver resident. This will be your park. Get your dog, bring your kids, bring your family. You'll be walking through this park within a month of closing. We hope closing will happen in time, that will be this summer. This park will be open this summer. That's what we're shooting for. And we'll have walking trails and passive use, and that it won't be the finished product. We're not going to get all the way to a wash park and a city park and a Sloan's Lake, but we are going to open the gates and let you, the community, have access to this and use it as quickly as possible. We need that month. The only reason we don't open it on the first day is we're going to make sure that it's safe. We're going to make sure any branches that are down and paths that need to be closed are closed, and we're going to get it open for you within that month. And we're going to immediately, in the next couple of weeks, there already is a website that will be live right after this where you can sign up if you want to be a part of this process, if you want to get out here and tell us what you want. We are not going to start from zero. This community has been asked what they want out of this parcel for a long time. There are a lot of plans. There are plans on the SOS website that have already dreamed. We're going to start there. We're going to come and say, hey, we have already heard from you what you want in a park, and now we get to extend that to 155 acres. How does this look? But we need your engagement. We need you to tell us, did we get it right before we start building? So it'll be open. We'll start that planning immediately. You can sign up today on the website, and we will engage with public meetings, with bringing you that vision. We're working right now on compiling all of the good work that community's already done, talking about what they wanted out of a park on this location. We'll put it together, and we'll be off to the races to work with you to continue to deliver. In the short term, this is open to you. In the midterm, we'll add some easy to add amenities like picnic tables and maybe an area for dogs to run and maybe a Frisbee golf course or whatever you want that we can deliver quickly. And then we'll work on the long-term vision of how does this transform into that park for this community that has all of those same amenities, so that when people think of Denver, they already think of Wash Park and they think of City Park and they think of Sloan's Lake, and now they're going to think of this park. And you're going to help us build it, and we are already off to the races on that. We want you to be a part of it as we continue to build that vision, but we are not waiting until that vision is complete to give it back to you for the first time in the history of this property to be truly public and open to you within a month of closing. That's our commitment from all these awesome Parks and Rec employees. So before you leave here, give them a high five, give them a hug, because we're going to be hard at work here in a few months. So thank you all so much, and let's give one more cheer for the man who made this happen, Mayor Mike Johnston. Give it up!
The best hype man in the city and county of Denver, ladies and gentlemen, Joel Clark. I will close and take questions in 1 second. I just want to say a couple things. The actual folks who made this deal happen, which was maybe one of the most complex and difficult transactions we've had since I've been mayor, and maybe in multiple administrations, are here today, and were heroic in the face of incredible obstacles. And so I want, for those of you that don't know yet, Jeff Dolan, our Chief Strategy Officer, Nicole Doheny, our Chief Financial Officer, please raise your hand. They were the folks that made this possible. We are so incredibly grateful. I want to thank all of our partners at DEN, at the airport, who also were partners along the way, and of course Lisa and our team from real estate. We are here because of you all. Just want to thank you so much. I want to close by saying that this is about the historic acquisition of a park, and that is true. This is also about something bigger, which is about how this city thinks about how we solve hard problems. There is a politics of either or, which either one person is right and the other person is wrong, or there's a politics of both and. Right? We can joke about it now, but when these measures were on the ballot, they were the items that could break up families and end marriages and end friendships, right? It's like they were the most hotly contested, debated topics. My friend John Bailey and I spent a lot of time working on this. We believed there was a real path for us to do affordable housing here and also to do public space. Other folks like the allies on the stage wanted this to be complete park space. What we knew was by getting those folks back to the table and having more conversation, we realized it did not have to be either or. There was a way to do both and. We know that Penfield Tate and Wellington Webb and Woody Garnsey cared as much about the affordability of this neighborhood as John and I did. We know that we cared as much about access to public space as the rest of the allies and SOS did. And what this process was about our deep belief as a city that our problems are solvable and we're the ones to solve them. Good people can disagree on hard issues, and what you do instead of arguing is you go back to the table, you sit down again, and you find a path forward. And the result of that is, yes, the last time this city opened a park of this size, folks came to that press conference in horse and buggy. Right? They came here before the world had ever seen a world war. That is the scale of how long it has been since folks have come together from different parts of the city with different beliefs and different backgrounds to be able to say, let's deliver something historic. And I think that is what this community has done today, and it's happened because all the folks in this crowd who might have had different opinions on different questions said fundamentally there is a common shared belief that we can make space by the people, of the people, for the people, in a neighborhood that still sees and welcomes and preserves that neighborhood as affordable. We can do all of those, and today is the next step forward in that success. I want to thank my friend Councilman Darrell Watson, who's just 50 yards away from this district, who's got the left side of Colorado Boulevard, who's been a partner through all of this. We are now excited to build this into something that will be the real pride of this city for the next 111 years. And I just want to thank all of you for your role in making today possible. So thank you. With that, I am happy to take a couple of questions from media if folks have them. I probably won't be able to get to all of them, but I'm happy to start. Yes?
Yes, Mayor. Is there plans for a specific name at this point?
We do not have a plan for naming. That would be part of the process that community provides input in, as well as the other design components. Yes?
Explain the details of the land swap. Are any taxpayer dollars used for the swap?
Thank you. So the way that this worked is there's an internal transfer of a city asset. It was land that we owned out by the airport that was owned by the airport. We applied for and received permission from the FAA to be able to use that land. We transferred that land from Den's property to Parks and Rec, and then Parks and Rec made the trade with the current landowner for this asset. So there was an internal transfer of about $12.7 million within the city from Parks and Rec to the airport. That comes from the Parks Legacy Fund for the acquisition. But then the trade is made between Denver and the current owner for this site without any cash payment. Yes, Brother Jeff.
I just have a statement. Mayor Mike Johnston, tear down these fences.
We are very excited to tear down those fences. Joel and I wanted to be out here this morning doing it, but he said he needs more trained professionals than me to do it. So that is what is coming very urgently. Yes?
Mayor, how much is it going to cost approximately to beautify all this so it's ready by summer?
That would be a Jolin question. I don't know. What would it do we know what it takes yet, Jolin, for our summer readiness?
For summer readiness, we're really just focused on safety and getting things irrigated so that we don't lose trees. So I don't have an absolute number for that, but it will be minimal to get it open. You won't see this, magically transformed into soccer fields and stuff like that. But open to the public, we can do pretty minimally.
It will be wild space like what you see now, but it will be accessible and open to folks. Yes, Kyle.
A little bit about the budget, exactly where the money's coming from. We're in a tight city here, and then also how prioritizing the creation of this park will also relate to all the other open spaces.
I'll invite Joel and Meg up for the second one to answer your question. Clearly, this, the Parks Legacy Fund was created by voters for just this purpose, which is the opportunity to acquire new parkland or to be able to preserve parkland. And as we said, that is just an internal transfer within city departments. It is not an external payment. It goes from Parks and Rec to the Denver Airport. But that was the purpose of the Parks Legacy Fund as invented. Obviously, I don't know that we dreamed ever we'd have the chance to acquire 155 acres of private land and turn it into park space, but that was its purpose and what it was preserved for. And so we think that's deeply in alignment and doesn't have any impact on other parts of the budget. Joel, if you want to add anything, go right ahead.
That really is the answer. Again, Park Legacy Fund was designed specifically for acquisition, building, maintenance of our new parks. We've been putting money away in an acquisition fund so that we're ready for opportunities, and we're able to move that money to do this.
And just to clarify, so with amenities, that sort of thing, that fund would be what would do that?
I think we would, just like any park, we'll look at all of our different funding sources and opportunities. We'll be looking for grants and outside fundraising, just like we would. But first, we need to understand from the community, what is that amenity set, so that we can start to get to the budget for that.
Yes, ma'am.
Does anything need to happen with the park administration that currently requires the sand plans to be resolved?
No, actually, through the legal process, and Penn or Woody will correct me if I'm wrong, but the city retaking ownership of the property then merges the easement, because we both own the easement and we own the property. And then we will dedicate the use long-term for park space, and then we'll get feedback from community members on what the design of this space will look like. But the city's acquisition of that merges the easement once we own it again. Yes?
Mayor, you had said that the quickest way that sometimes to gentrify an area is to have a park in it, but how do you thread that affordability? You're saying you can do it. Do you have ideas on how you will do that?
We do have. I mean, we obviously, so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because we both, in addition to having conversations with the community about the uses of the park, we'll also engage folks in additional conversations about updates to the community-wide need set we have with this new use of this site, because it will change what might have been planned previously on what, if this was going to be a Topgolf, it would have looked very different than just to hit an old joke. So that changes you. So we will have conversations about what the additional amenities are. There's always been conversations about grocery store access. There's always been conversations about affordability. We will look to acquire land that we can access to be able to preserve, to partner with organizations for affordability. We'll look to partner with organizations like Urban Land Conservancy that make this a priority, or foundation partners. We'll look to exercise right of first refusals we have wherever possible on properties that come up for sale. And so we want to be clear, we are not agnostic about what happens in the neighborhood surrounding this park. We're excited to make sure it remains open to the folks who live in this neighborhood and have been in this neighborhood and want to stay in this neighborhood. Yes?
Yes, sir. A lot of changes over the past 8 years. What message do you have for developers looking to come to Denver?
I think we believe that Denver is a place that is still pro-growth and pro-open space, and it's possible to be both, and that's what today is about. I think in the immediate project here, we're looking, obviously, we know there is a housing shortage in Denver. We want to add more housing stock. We want to make sure that that housing stock is affordable to people that are working and living in Denver right now, and we know that there's a real shortage of that. So that has been our priority, will be our priority, and we want to make sure it's a priority in a neighborhood that's historically lacked access to affordable housing and has risked being pushed out of this neighborhood too many times when the costs have gone up.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you bet.
I'd like to
Anybody
add
else?
to Mayor Johnson's comment. Developers can develop, but not on park space.
Correct. There are plenty of places to develop that are not on the Park Hill Golf Course. We're happy to talk to them about those options. Yes, Mr. Bailey.
Yeah, man, I think that I want to be very supportive of what you've done here today. Number two, I respect everybody who was up here. I want to also suggest that we be cautiously optimistic about this whole process. Anything that was done is not necessarily on SOS's website. Other creative ideas throughout the community. Me, for one, didn't feel this needs to be a citywide effort because it's not Park Hill. But again, the work people spoke. I just want to make sure that going forward, we hear trusted voices who represent community benefits in this community, and look forward to working with you and all
Yeah.
those others on this particular project.
Agree with that, and thank you. I think it's really important to note that this process will be open to all community members for feedback, and there, as you mentioned, John, are multiple partners and organizations and community voices who have been raised to elevate priorities and options about how to use this space and the needs the community has at large. We want all those voices to be part of the conversation going forward.
Mayor Johnston, if I might, during the entire process, folks, as many of you know, as SOS worked alongside you, we took input from everybody in terms of what they thought ought to happen on this site. And we were always clear. The feedback we got was not the end-all be-all, nor was it exclusive of anything else. This is an ongoing conversation that needs to happen among our community and among our city in terms of how to activate this new historic park asset.
Right.
All I was
We
saying
support
is
that.
that, all I was saying, Ben, is that I intend to be a part of that ongoing conversation.
We would like everyone here to be a part of that ongoing conversation, and that is the purpose of the day. I know we have a couple of other folks who have questions. I'm happy to stick around. I'm mindful of the fact that we have kept you a long time on a Wednesday, so I'm going to just say thank you so much to everybody for being here. Thank you to all the community members who've helped make this possible. Excited to get to work together on a historic project ahead with all of you shoulder to shoulder. Thank you all so much for being here.